Huge factors. Nature versus nurture, old but gold debate.
Well, Joe, the debate makes sense. Studies do suggest that high testosterone could be associated with traits like risk-taking and assertiveness, which might give entrepreneurs an edge. But let's not forget, upbringing and environment shape your attitude towards risks and business from childhood. Plus, there's plenty of successful folks who might not fit that hormonal profile. Hormones are just one piece of the puzzle.
Sure, Simon, but let's flip the script a bit. If we accept that hormones are one piece of the puzzle, what does that say about people feeling biologically disadvantaged? It might imply you need to have it in you to succeed, which, honestly, I'd argue against. Success isn't predetermined by your body chemistry. Determination, strategy, execution, those things can't be bottled up in a hormone.
Let's circle back, Joe. If it's true that entrepreneurs typically have a hormone cocktail going strong and someone's not feeling the biological flex, they shouldn't sweat it. I've got an idea. Better strategies, networking, hard work. Those elements level the playing field. If your biology's not giving you a free pass, your brain and hustle step up to bat. That's what keeps the dream alive for every hopeful out there.
Nah, Simon, I've got to play devil's advocate here. Consider the possibility that biology does have a stronger role than we credit. If some entrepreneurs are biologically tuned like high-performance engines from the start, that initial push certainly matters. Their drive might come easier. It doesn't mean you're out of the race without it, not by a long shot. But we can't just dismiss the advantage a turbo boost of sorts could give in the entrepreneurial world.
Okay, Joe, but here's the thing. If you need an extra dose of oomph and you're not naturally sitting on a gold mine of juices, there are ways to stoke that fire. We adapt. That's human nature. Let's be real. If success was all hormonally driven, we'd have supplements flying off the shelves labeled instant entrepreneur. It ain't that simple. You make do with what you got and turbocharge it through sheer grit.
Absolutely, supplements won't replace sweat equity and savvy.
Exactly. Plus, every study finding needs a grain or truckload of salt. These studies about high testosterone entrepreneurs, they don't account for outliers. That hard-hitting granny flipping houses, doubt it's the T levels fueling her empire. Mercerized. It's more about who wakes up ready to tackle the world and keep swinging even when they miss, which is like 90% of entrepreneurship.
Well, you know what they say, Simon. Looking to start a business? Forget the MBA, get a testosterone test. Just imagine the ads. Boost your business with brosterone. Side effects may include excessive handshakes and an unnatural love for elevator pitches.
Brosterone? That's rich, Joe. But let's get real. Last I checked, no hormone injection can teach you balance sheets or tax loopholes. And hey, wouldn't an unnatural love for elevator pitches just lead to awkward rides? Imagine getting cornered by a guy hopped up on bro juice trying to sell you his app. No thanks. Real success? That's not in a syringe. It's in the grind, mistakes, and learning that MBA or not, you just can't bypass.
Haha, truth told, Simon. Awkward elevator rides aside, what really gets the job done is elbow grease and learning from the trenches. But shifting gears, you heard about peppermint oil coming up as a wonder tonic for athletes? Some say a whiff or a dab can improve breathing and performance. Sounds like we're trading syringes for essential oils now. Let's chew on that.
Peppermint oil? Seriously? Sounds like these athletes should ditch the weights and hit the spa instead. I get it. Inhaling some minty freshness might make you feel like a brisk jog on a cool morning, but last I checked, no Olympic records were broken by smell alone, unless we count sweat. Before we know it, there'll be candles called Gold Medalist Spirit claiming to boost your deadlifts. Maybe the real exercise here is jumping to conclusions.
Ha! I've actually got a story that's right up this alley. So a buddy of mine, big gym rat, gets wind of this peppermint oil hustle, right? Figures he'll give it a go. He slathers some of this oil all over before his workout, like more than a dab. Think peppermint patty gone wild. Hits the gym and feels nothing. Zip. But everyone around him is now gingerly avoiding the minty cloud of doom while he's chugging along, wondering why his bench press hasn't magically doubled. Let's just say the only thing he lifted that day were eyebrows.
Classic placebo fail. Maybe try less oil next time, huh?
Or maybe ditch the oil and just lift more, pal.
Well, let's put it this way. If I could get fit by sniffing peppermint, I'd have abs like a washboard by now. If it works for some folks, power to them. Maybe they're onto the scent of success. But for most, I'd say don't bet your gym membership on it. Getting those gains is more about discipline and routine than what your nostrils are up to. Plus, nothing beats the classic method of eating right, training hard, and getting enough sleep. No aromatic shortcuts there.
No shortcuts to hard work and consistency, Simon.
So does that mean if I bathe in peppermint oil, I'll turn into an Olympic champ overnight? If only. Then I could mint my way onto the podium. Get it? Mint my way? I'll see myself out.
Ha! Keep your day job, buddy.
Right, so my day job, anyway, had a pal who was always on the lookout for that magic bullet for her marathons. Heard peppermint oil could be her golden ticket. Better breathing, less muscle pain, the works. Slaps a bit behind her ears, maybe hoping she'd jet off like a fresh breath-powered superhero or something. Ran the same time as always, but hey, at least she crossed the finish line smelling like a candy cane. That counts, right?
Counts for holiday spirit, not speed.
Yeah, holiday spirit gets no medals. Switching gears, let's dive into something wild, the evolution of extreme sports. Started with just a handful of daredevils, and now they're mainstream madness. What happened to the good old days when riding a bike meant popping a wheelie, not flipping 360 over a canyon?
Right, extreme sports blew up big time. Past few decades shifted them from niche to full-on cultural phenomenons. We've got the X Games, Red Bull-sponsored events, and people pushing the envelope in ways old-school daredevils would have gawked at. Yeah, popping a wheelie was cool, but now it's about upping the adrenaline, chasing that high-flying spectacle. Its growth is just nuts.
Adrenaline's addictive. People can't get enough of this stuff, Joe.
Hey, new listeners, you're just in time. Simon and I are diving into the evolution of extreme sports, from humble beginnings to today's adrenaline-packed, jaw-dropping spectacles. Gone are the days when a simple wheelie was the height of cool. Now it's all about sky-high stunts and pushing human limits. Truly, these sports have gone from underground to universal hype.
Hey newbies, welcome aboard the banter bus. We're gabbing about how extreme sports have gone next level. Think zero to hero. What used to be shenanigans in your backyard has now turned into flipping out on a global stage. Mad stunts are normal, and the wow factor is like rocket fuel for fans. From kickflips to cliff jumps, it's all about that rush, and it ain't slowing down one bit.
These sports took off in the 90s, with the X Games as the catalyst. What started as fringe activities for thrill seekers have ballooned into professional sports, with big sponsorships and televised events. Accessibility played a role. Cheap action cams let anyone capture their feats. The internet did the rest, virality propelling extreme athletes to stardom. Nowadays, these sports are even inching their way into the Olympics. Skateboarding and surfing made waves in Tokyo 2020.
You're not wrong about the X Games, Joe, but let's poke the bear a bit. Inching into the Olympics, skateboarding and surfing hit more like a tidal wave, man. It's like your grandma suddenly doing backflips, just doesn't fit with those ancient Greek traditions. And about those action cams. Now, every Johnny Knoxville wannabe with a GoPro thinks they're stunt royalty. I love the guts, but let's be real, not all of these uploaders are going to snag those sweet sponsorships.
Sure, skateboarding and surfing had big debuts in the Olympics, but look, not everyone's thrilled. Purists argue that these sports are selling out, losing their rebel soul by going mainstream. And for our GoPro heroes, fame's a long shot. For every jaw-dropping clip that goes viral, thousands vanish into oblivion. It's extreme oversaturation. Only the truly exceptional or downright insane stand out. Keeps things fresh, but also floods us with a heap of meh content.
You nailed it with the selling out part. Let's dish out some food for thought. So, extreme sports started as this counterculture movement, right? A bunch of misfits finding freedom away from those traditional rule-laden sports. Now they've become that thing they never wanted to be, mainstream. But here's a twist. This mainstreaming brings in the dough, pushes tech forward, and gets these sports refined. Like skateboarding, it's gone from empty pools to Olympic ramps. Total 180.
Definitely, Simon. Extreme sports had a radical transformation from rebellion to recognition. The mainstreaming might have clipped some renegade wings, but it's also professionalized these once rogue activities. And cash flow doesn't just build ramps, it builds futures for athletes. Switching over to something even more unpredictable than a double backflip, the 2024 U.S. presidential elections. Thoughts on who's landing in the Oval Office this time? It's like guessing who will win a high-stakes poker game without seeing any of the players' cards.
Whoa, diving into politics is like swapping a skateboard for a unicycle, huh? What's your take on the early frontrunners vying for that presidential hot seat, Joe? Got any dark horse candidates, or are we looking at the usual suspects here?
Politics? Now we're grinding on a rail, aren't we? Early days, but it's the usual suspects at the front. Though I wouldn't count out a dark horse just yet. Remember, outsider candidates have blindsided us before. It's like picking the winner of a battle royale, who can avoid the pitfalls and come out on top amidst the chaos. Everyone loves an underdog story. Let's see if 2024 delivers one.
Absolutely. Chaos is the name of the game. But do you think there's room for a real curveball candidate this time around, or will it be a showdown between the heavyweights we're seeing now?
A curveball candidate seems unlikely this time. Given the stakes and the divisions in the country, voters might play it safe. The chaos of recent years could push people toward familiar faces who promise stability. And let's face it, funding and party support often dictate the game. Heavyweights have the war chest and machinery to go the distance. Newcomers, they're like indie films facing off against summer blockbusters.
Joe, you make a solid point. It's like a wrestling match, the big names versus the no-names. Gotta respect the classics, but root for the underdogs. Speaking of underdogs, let's talk about unity, huh? It's one thing America needs to crush it into a new golden era. And hey, instead of thinking red versus blue, how about more community barbecues? Just imagine people chowing down ribs, discussing ideas over a cold one. That's some bipartisan flavor right there. What's your recipe for unity and prosperity, buddy?
Barbecues and beers sound nice, Simon, but let's be real. Unity isn't a potluck, it's hard work. My recipe? Education reform. We have to invest in schools that teach critical thinking over ideology. Kids who can debate ideas, not just pick sides. Because honest discussions based on facts, not fear or favoritism, might bridge divides. It's less about finding common ground at social events and more about fostering an informed electorate that values dialogue over division.
All right, education reform with a side order of critical thinking. I dig it. But let's sprinkle in some extra flavor. Imagine high schools teaching barbecue science, where every debate ends with a cook-off. Now that's a class Americans can rally behind. Picture it, smoky flavors for thought and saucy discussions. If anything hits a boiling point, we just throw another rack of ribs on the grill. Hey, who knows unity better than condiments? If ketchup and mustard can coexist peacefully on a hot dog, there's hope for us all.
That's one saucy idea, Simon, but let's not sugarcoat it. While breaking bread or ribs can build some bridges, hunger for real change goes way beyond the barbecue pit. My counter sauce? It's economic opportunity. If we really want unity, how about a level playing field where effort, not circumstance, opens doors? Prosperity shouldn't just be for the well-marinated elite. It should be as common as fries with your burger. Equal opportunity is the real American dream relish.
Economic opportunity. Listen, Joe, let's really flip the burger here. I've got it. National lottery, but instead of cash, you win a day as president. Might unify everyone if they had the shot to call the shots, am I right? Imagine high stakers tuning in for Powerball, and your ticket could land you in the Oval for a day of executive decisions. Today's winner decrees free tacos every Tuesday. Now that's prosperity with a side of guac.
Simon, cool idea for a show, but as policy? Recipe for disaster. Imagine the White House flipped into a lottery prize booth. Sure, we'd all love to take the wheel, but steering a nation is complex. One-day presidents might just cater to popular whims, not strategic plans for long-term prosperity. Here's my counter: incentivizing community service and local initiative drives. Real prosperity trickles up when people invest sweat equity into their neighborhoods. That strengthens communities from the ground up. More stability than Taco Tuesdays.
What if we flip the script and go micro, Joe? Forget nationwide strategies for a sec. Picture every block with its own fix-it fest, neighbors helping neighbors. Leaky faucets, patchy lawns, resume workshops, you name it. Skills get swapped, bonds get built. It's grassroots prosperity. No politicos, no red tape, just pure DIY American spirit. Plus, a good old neighborhood potluck to end the day. Nothing unites like battling over who makes the best potato salad.
Micro focus, huh? I'll play devil's advocate. Fix-it fests and potlucks aren't enough for a new golden era. Getting hands dirty is great, but America needs macro vision too. Talking big investments in technology, education, and infrastructure. Real prosperity means tackling issues like unemployment, healthcare, and climate change. Sure, swap skills and potato salads, but don't let that distract from the bigger picture. Systemic changes that set up everyone to prosper. Neighborhood to nation.
Oh, I hear you, buddy. You're hitting the nail right on the head. Systems need a serious overhaul, no doubt about it. It's like we're trying to stream the latest series with ancient dial-up internet, frustrating and futile. The big machine's got to change gears for sure. But hey, while we're waiting for that system reboot, pass me a serving of that neighborhood potato salad, will ya? Keep the local love alive until those big wheels turn.
Local spirit keeps us going while we wait for change.
All right, let me paint you a picture, Joe. There's this little town, right? Classic Americana, diner with the best dang apple pie, flags on every porch. But it hit hard times, real slump. One day, this plucky kid fresh out of college rolls back into town, fueled by these grand ideas of unity and prosperity. He starts small, organizing weekend cleanups, inspiring folks with his energy. Next thing, they're not just cleaning up trash, but uniting to beautify their park, turning an old lot into a community garden. It's the talk of the town diner. The spark ignites. Local businesses start pitching in, funding Wi-Fi for community spaces, creating scholarship programs. Picture this. They get so revved up that they host a Golden Era Gala every year to celebrate their progress, doling out awards like Best Community Project or Most Neighborly Neighbor. It's this perfect blend of potlucks, progress, and pride, a microcosm of what could be if we take this show on the road to bigger stages. And it all started with a kid who believed in a new golden era, shared efforts, and yep, the unifying power of potato salad.
Now there's a story to warm your heart, Simon. A testament to the fact that change often starts with one determined person and a community willing to pitch in. But let's swing into another type of pitch. AI solutions for government problems. AI could cut red tape faster than a hot knife through butter, simplifying bureaucracy, tailoring services to citizen needs, and even sniffing out corruption like a bloodhound. What are your thoughts on machines helping to govern our lives?
Machines in government? Feels a bit like letting the Roomba run the household, doesn't it? I mean, sure, AI could potentially slice through red tape, but do we really want to hand the wheel over to something that can't distinguish between a dust bunny and a sleeping cat? Here's a thought. How about we use AI as an assistant, not the boss? Assistants fetch coffee. They don't run board meetings. Let the bots sort paperwork, sequence data, but let's keep human hands on the steering wheel, preferably those with a warm pulse and a knack for empathy.
Simon, delegating grunt work to AI? Spot on. Let's not forget, though, an assistant can make or break you. Ever had a coffee botched by a newbie barista? That's minor league compared to AI fumbling public policy. They should handle tasks, yes, but big decisions need the human touch. Now imagine AI only fed us what we wanted to hear, turning policy into an echo chamber. Government isn't about comfort zones, it's about making hard choices for the greater good. So while the AI brings us our data coffee, let's ensure it's humans who sip it and call the shots. Otherwise, we risk creating a robotic society, all circuits and no soul.
Echo chambers and robots? No thanks, I'll keep my soul.
AI can optimize, but it must be a tool guided by our values, not a replacement for human judgment. It's like having a GPS, useful for navigating, but you wouldn't just drive off a cliff because it says so. We harness AI to crunch data for smarter decisions in resource allocation, trend analysis, and efficiency enhancements. Crucial is that policymakers interpret the input with context and humanity at the forefront. AI should inform governance, not define it.
Totally. AI is just the compass. Humans steer the ship.
Exactly. Tools in hand, eyes on horizon.
Yeah, Joe, I've got to say, using AI sounds like a sweet deal for tackling those sleep-inducing government spreadsheets, but we can't just let it run wild. You've got to keep it leashed, you know? It's cool if AI figures out where we're wasting cash or missing the mark, but at the end of the day, there's got to be a person making the calls. Last time I checked, robots don't vote. Well, not yet at least. Plus, who's going to take the heat when things go sideways? The office printer. Keep the people in charge and let the machines do the heavy lifting without any heavy thinking.
Keep AI on a short leash. Decision-making stays human.
I'm all for AI as a sidekick, not the superhero. Speaking of superheroes and their powers, let's chat about this whole singularity biz. That's when machines are supposed to get smarter than us, right? I give it till, never o'clock. Humans have something machines don't: gut instinct. Ever seen a robot laugh at a bad joke just to be polite? Exactly.
Never a clock? I like that, but let's give these machines a little more credit. Still, I'm betting against them on reaching this so-called singularity, at least not in our lifetimes. Instincts, emotions, the messiness of being human, that's tough to code. So until I see a computer sweat through a first date or savor grandma's cooking, I'm not holding my breath for any robot uprising. They can simulate intelligence, sure, but outsmart the messy miracle of human consciousness? Good luck.
The year we hit the singularity? How about the 12th of never? Look, Joe, predicting when tech will outpace human brains is like guessing what my dog's dreaming about. Waste of time. These machines might learn some nifty tricks, but scaling the Everest of human experience? Nah. I'll bet you a lifetime supply of tacos we won't see it. And speaking of ridiculous predictions, let's talk flying cars and jetpacks. Weren't we supposed to have those by now?
Simon, betting against singularity sounds safe, but I might take you up on that taco bet. Everyone thought the 4-minute mile was impossible until someone laced up and just did it. Underestimating human ingenuity is often where we trip up. But yeah, singularity hype often misses the big picture. A brain-computer mashup is more likely than outright dominance. And those flying cars? Any year now, right? More like an urban planner's nightmare. We struggle with traffic on the ground. Imagine that chaos at 500 feet. Jetpacks would be cool for about 5 minutes until everyone's crashing into power lines. Let's stick to the tech that actually improves life. No pie in the sky required.
The singularity in what, exactly? Joe, unless singularity means the year we all unanimously decide pineapple to belong on pizza, I'd say April 31st, 2075. Spoiler. That date doesn't exist, just like our chances of hitting this sci-fi jackpot.
Picture this, Simon. It's April 31st, 2075. But instead of marveling at self-aware machines, the world is gathered for the most monumental event in history, the Great Pineapple Pizza Convention. Why? Because we're human, and we'd rather debate toppings than surrender to robot overlords. Crowds are roaring, and out comes the main event. 2 chefs, one pro-pineapple, one vehemently against. The media buzzes not about AI dominion, but whether fruit has any place on a savory classic. As sauce flies and cheese melts, somewhere, in a quiet lab, an algorithm calculates endless outcomes, but none strong enough to distract from the real issue gripping society. Should pineapple grace our pizzas? So there you have it. The year of singularity glory could come and go, but humans, we're feasting on cheesy debates, occasionally glancing at tech advancements through the greasy lens of a pizza box window. Still in charge, still perfectly irrational. Singularity can wait. There's pizza at stake.
Sorry, Joe. The singularity? More like a never-ending story. What year will we reach it? How about when pigs fly or when socks stop disappearing from the dryer? You can't predict something so out there. I've seen my phone struggle to autocorrect ducking. Think that's going to turn into a cyber brainiac heralding a new era of intelligence? Let's be real. Before we even get a whiff of the singularity, we'll invent calorie-free pizza that tastes amazing. Now that's a future to look forward to.
Haha. Autocorrect's still stuck on ducking, so yeah, the singularity isn't knocking at our doors yet. But you mentioned socks disappearing in the dryer, Simon, which is pretty bizarre. Speaking of mysteries, let's unravel this one for our listeners. The genetic similarities between humans and animals. We share about 98% of our DNA with chimps, but what really blows my mind is that we're 50% similar to bananas. What does it say about us? Are we just a bunch of well-dressed apes who managed to figure out podcasting? Let's dive in.
Whoa, straight from tech to biology. Our podcast is like a box of chocolates. Never know what you're going to get. So, here's the scoop. Genetics are wild, man. We strut around in our fancy clothes, but DNA-wise, we're close cousins with chimpanzees. It's nuts. Just a 2% difference, and yet they're picking fleas off each other, and we're arguing over who has the best coffee. But bananas? That's where my brain does backflips. Half of our DNA matches up with a fruit. Kinda takes "you are what you eat" to a whole new level, right? Maybe it explains why slipping on a banana peel is comic gold. We're just recognizing family. Nature's got its own way of mixing and matching. Shared DNA doesn't mean we're identical, though. A few tweaks in those genes make the difference between building skyscrapers and swinging through trees. Science keeps trying to crack the code, but some things stay happily mysterious. And hey, maybe that 50% banana part of us is what keeps health freaks coming back for more. You gotta love relatives with potassium benefits.
Shared DNA with bananas is a head-scratcher, Simon, but let's not turn it into a fruit salad just yet. The real wonder isn't that we share DNA with other species. It's how a seemingly tiny genetic twist can make such a vast difference. So humans and chimps have a 2% gap. That 2% packs quite the punch. We're talking language, culture, technology. As cool as chimps are, I haven't seen one launch a satellite or brew an espresso. And bananas? Just goes to show that life on Earth follows some basic blueprints. But here's the kicker. We can't let numbers mislead us. It's like saying your smartphone is practically identical to a calculator because they both crunch numbers. Context. That little genetic shuffle is why there aren't banana representatives in the UN. If anything, these facts should humble us. They remind us that no matter how sophisticated we get, we're still part of this intricate web. And what do we do with that knowledge? Argue over pizza toppings. Go figure.
Language, satellites, espresso, that 2% packs more punch than my grandma's left hook. But you're spot on, Joe. We're all connected in this wacky genetic jamboree we call life, even if half of it's got peel and goes well in a smoothie. Switching lanes to another marvel altogether, AI in space. Buckle up. Humans have dreamed about the stars since like forever. Turns out AI might just be our VIP ticket. We've got rovers rolling on Mars, algorithms sifting through cosmic data, space exploration's getting a serious techie spin. I mean, I can barely find my way out of a mall parking lot. We need bots for this stuff. If AI can navigate the vast nothingness while I sit back with my snack pack, beam me up, Scotty.
AI as cosmic chauffeurs. Now that's a space odyssey worth watching.
Oh, thrill me with tales of cosmic chauffeurs, will you? Here's a story for our listeners. Imagine a rogue AI named BNNE, the brainy explorer of nebulas and yonders. BNNE's mission? To boldly snoop where no bot has snooped before. Picture this, humans back on Earth, munching popcorn while Benny squeezes through asteroid belts like a pro, sniffing out alien hangouts. He maps dark matter with flair, choreographs star dances, all that jazz. Months pass, then one day, our hero stumbles upon a planet twinkling with... Is that disco light? Turns out it's just funky bioluminescent space algae. But hey, Benny throws the first ever intergalactic light show, and we get front row seats to the universe's secrets, all from the comfort of our gravity-bound recliners. AI in space isn't just about getting there, it's about throwing an otherworldly party and making sure everyone's invited, even if it's just Benny and his new algae pals.
So Simon, if BNI accidentally invited these bioluminescent algae to Earth for an after-party, do you think they'd be a hit at our own nightclubs, or just stick to cosmic raves?
Plato's take on VR ethics? Now that's a dive into the ancient think tank. Picture Plato at a VR headset booth, stroking his beard, pondering if those virtual chickens have souls. Ethics in VR. Is it okay to throw your digital buddy off a cliff for LOLs? For old Plato, the reality part of virtual reality would have been a philosophical snack. Is a VR world our new allegory of the cave? Are we just cave dwellers getting duped by pixel shadows? He'd say, "Don't be fooled by fake sunsets and downloadable pals. Keep it real. But let's serve it up with some 21st century sauce." In VR, is swiping virtual bread for your pixel family wrong if your avatar's belly rumbles? Maybe it's all about intent. You drop kick a robot in VR. Does it make you bad, or are you just letting off steam? Plato might have loved a VR debate arena. No togas necessary. But until VR can give us the scent of Athenian streets or the gritty feel of the agora under our sandals, I'm with Plato. It's all smoke and mirrors, digitally remastered for our amusement. Keep it real, folks. The cave's got a high-def upgrade, but the outside world is still where the truth's at.
You got it. Engaging in some VR tomfoolery can be a blast, but it's true. It makes you wonder where we draw the line. What would Plato say? In his cave, the shadows were illusions, distractions from reality. So VR today might just be modern shadows, another layer of fantasy. But here's a fresh spin. Does our behavior in virtual worlds reveal who we really are? If you're a good person offline but go all gladiator in VR, what does that say? Or does VR offer a sandbox for our impulses, no real-world consequences? Plato would have a field day with this one. Ethics, identity, and reality all getting blurred in a digital mixer. It's something to chew on next time you log off a VR session. Okay, transitioning from VR and ethics to something lighter, music. How about we chat about the tunes that have stood the test of time? Those classic hits that, no matter when they're played, get everyone excited. Let's hit it.
Sorry, Joe, taking a quick zero-gravity U-turn back to VR and ethics. We can't leave Plato hanging in virtual limbo. If old mate Plato had 2 cents to throw into the VR jar, he'd probably warn us, know thy digital self. If VR shenanigans turned saints into sinners, Plato would squint suspiciously. Maybe, just maybe, it's like a mask at a ball. We get to try on different roles, but do we reveal our true colors or just play pretend? Hurling fireballs at ogres in digital dungeons might be fun, but it's all fun and games until someone forgets what's real. VR's got its rules, and so does life. Plato would likely say the key is to balance both without losing your moral compass or your lunch if you're motion sensitive.
Plato navigating VR ethics is like trying to read an ancient scroll through 3D glasses. He might just say, the only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing, especially when your VR avatar has more fashion sense than you.
Ha! VR Plato in designer threads. Now there's an idea for our next Halloween episode. But he's got a point about knowing nothing, especially when our avatars are outdressing us. With one foot in reality and the other kicking pixelated baddies, it's a techno-philosophical tango. Switching gears from ancient wisdom to vintage vibes, let's stroll down to the Victorian era. Imagine if they had social media back in the day. Top hats, corsets, and the most civil of disagreements in ye olde comment section. Good sir, your opinion on the new steam engine is rather pedestrian. Talk about classy clapbacks and elegant emojis. So Joe, what do you think would have trended in a 19th century Twitter feed?
Penny farthing fails would have been rolling in the likes, Simon.
Oh, for sure. Penny farthing fails would be the cat's pajamas of Victorian social media. Just picture it. Looping gifs of well-dressed gents taking a tumble, handlebar mustaches and all. But in true Victorian style, they'd keep it proper. Even their fails would have an air of dignity. Imagine the comments. I dare say Reginald's abrupt dismount was rather unorthodox, but bravo on the recovery. Accompanied by a gif of a monocled chap giving a polite golf clap. And let's not forget about subtweets filled with passive-aggressive poetry or coyly veiled barbs hidden in fancy script fonts. Victorian social media would be all about that sly wit and backhanded politeness, throwing shade behind an intricate lace fan emoji.
Subtweeting in script with a side of sass, classic Victoriana.
Snarky subtweets with quill and ink, the original burn book.
Imagine the uproar, a not-so-subtweet saying, Miss Elizabeth's ankle reveal at the spring promenade. How provocative. Oh, the scandal. Victorian etiquette on social media would be an art form. Pictures of your neighbor's unsightly horse carriage parked in your cobblestone driveway, anyone? Get off my lawn ship.
Oh, the pearls would be clutched. Elizabeth's ankle pick would have been the pin-up of its day, driving the gossips wild. What a hoot. But now, let's leap from Victorian slip-ups to Renaissance masterminds. Speaking of things that grab attention, how about the latest puzzle? the lost blueprints of Da Vinci. Picture this: hidden sketches, potentially packed with mind-blowing inventions, or fresco drafts for the Sistine Chapel's lesser-known cousin. Da Vinci was like the Elon Musk of the 1500s, minus the Twitter account. What do you think was on those blueprints, Joe? Hidden masterpieces or doodles of the ideal spaghetti noodle?
Ah, the lost blueprints of Da Vinci. If we unearthed those, Simon, I'd bet on a mix of pure genius and doodles only a Renaissance man could appreciate. Da Vinci's notebook scribbles are one thing, but blueprints? We could be looking at early designs for inventions way ahead of his time. Or yes, maybe just the quintessential spaghetti twirl technique. Whatever's on there, you can bet it'd have us reconsidering what we thought we knew about innovation in the good old 1500s.
Whoops, sorry, Joe. I went off there. But talking about lost blueprints, real quick, everyone must have heard about Leonardo da Vinci's Codex Leicester, right? That's one of the few well-preserved notebooks we've got where you can peek into da Vinci's brain and grasp just how across the board his genius was. From water flow studies to astronomy, and yes, engineering sketches that eye up modern tech centuries before its time. It's wild to think about other potential lost blueprints, what with all the inventions he's cooked up that were raring to go way back then. Hydraulic pumps, an early helicopter idea, yep, the aerial screw machine, even armored tanks. But let's not forget Da Vinci was also king of the doodles, sketching everything from landscapes to, I kid you not, grotesque faces for a laugh. So, among those hypothetical misplaced masterworks could very well be the Renaissance version of a cat playing the piano. History's mysterious like that.
Sure, the Codex Leicester shows Da Vinci's broad strokes of genius, but hidden blueprints offer a different thrill: the what-ifs. Every page could be revolutionary ideas or daydream doodles. It's like a historical treasure hunt. What if amidst those doodles and faces, we find designs pointing to lost technologies, thoughts on flight predating modern airplanes, or even simple machines that could have changed history? Imagine a scribble leading to alternate energy sources or war-changing tech. What appears to us as whimsical art could have set a whole different world stage. Let's just hope any newly discovered blueprints have more eureka than whoops-a-daisy.
All right, let's dig a little deeper into these Da Vinci doodles. Leonardo da Vinci lived during the Renaissance period, around the late 15th to early 16th century. He was known for being not just an artist, but a polymath. That's a fancy term for someone who's an expert in a ton of fields. We're talking painting, sculpture, architecture, science, music, mathematics, engineering, you name it. His notebooks are packed with over 13,000 pages of notes and drawings, which is, well, bananas. The content ranges from observations of anatomy to explorations in botany and engineering. Da Vinci was obsessed with the concept of flight, sketching things like the famous ornithopter, this bird-inspired flying machine, years before aviation became a reality. What's more, his interest in hydraulics led him to design an elaborate system of canals, and as an engineer, he cooked up a bridge design so futuristic that people tried building it only recently, and guess what? It actually worked. In essence, each page of Da Vinci's work could potentially alter our historical perspective or modern technology, because his ideas were just that far ahead. Stuff Hollywood couldn't even dream up.
It's a miracle we've even got a sliver of Da Vinci's works considering the era. But let's spice up the mystery of these lost blueprints. Let's say they're discovered under an old Italian vineyard. The drama. Now picture this. Among those pages is something like designs for sustainable energy practices or sketches of a prototype internet. Mind-bending, right? It makes you wonder how many times history was on the brink of brilliance, only to have it slip through the cracks. The possibilities in those missing pages are endless, and could show us just how close Da Vinci was to changing the game entirely. We might dig up inventions that leapfrogged centuries of tech, or, and here's a thought, what if we find missteps? Even geniuses have off days. Either way, it's not just lost treasure, it's a gateway to a potential alternate timeline. Now, wouldn't that be a conversation starter at your next Renaissance fair?
Joe, those missing blueprint fantasies are a Renaissance rabbit hole for sure. Now, on a lighter note, or should I say chirpier, let's wing over to Speaker for Birds. Imagine our feathered friends tweeting away with tech that turns their bird songs into real tweets. Forget Twitter, we'd have literal tweets going viral. Birds could be the next social media influencers, with followers building nests around their every chirp. Could you imagine getting your morning news from a canary, weather updates from a rooster, and travel tips from a migratory flock? This could change the pecking order of online engagement.
Haha, Speaker for Birds would surely flip the script on social media. Move over cat videos, here come the chirps. It's a chuckle-worthy thought, avian internet stars dictating trends. But let's migrate from our feathered friends to something a bit more human, a classic mind-bender: time travel ethics. Just because we can, should we? The morality of tweaking timelines could turn reality into a messy tangle of could-haves and should-haves. If time travel ever shifts from sci-fi to real life, our every decision could ripple through history. That begs the question, Simon. Do we dare play cosmic chess with past and future at stake? What say you about the ethical quagmires potentially lurking in the wings of time machines?
Hey, new listeners. You've just fluttered into a wild brainstorm about the ethics of time travel. Here's the deal. We're untangling whether it's even a good idea to hop back and forth in history. Because really, with every trip, you might step on a butterfly and boom, there go your weekend plans, or worse, say adios to sliced bread. But seriously, could we be trusted not to make a giant mess of things? Would zipping through time do more harm than good? It's a head-scratcher no one's got the answers to. Stick around as we continue poking at this timeline of possibilities.
Trusted with time travel? Doubt it, we'd botch our own timelines.
Once upon a time, there was this clumsy guy. Let's call him Clueless Carl. Carl stumbles upon a time machine at a yard sale, of all places. Thinking it's one of those retro popcorn makers, you know the type, he buys it and accidentally zaps himself back to the dinosaur era. Here's the kicker. Old Carl sneezes by a T-Rex, scaring off the dino that was about to become fossilized. He pops back to the present, and what do you know? Instead of dogs, everyone's walking their pet dinosaurs. Carl's little time blunder made dinos man's best friend. Sounds great until a T-Rex swallows your car whole because it thought the horn honk was a mating call. Yeah, hilarity ensues. Just carving out a bit of fun through time, Clueless Carl style.
Classic Carl move. Should have just stuck with popcorn, not time hopping.
Joe, imagine Carl leaves that time machine on his front lawn. It's just one garage sale away from causing a chrono catastrophe. Here's why messing with timelines is like opening Pandora's box. Who decides what's fixable or worth the risk? Maybe you think saving a historical figure is a win, but then someone else wants their favorite TV show to never get canceled. Next thing you know, we're in the middle of a temporal tug-of-war where everyone's trying to rewrite their personal hiccups. It's not just unethical, it's a hot mess, express with a one-way ticket to chaos. I say, keep time travel in the movies, and let's deal with our problems in good old-fashioned real time.
Mess with time, win a prize of ultimate chaos. No thanks.
Right, so let's spin this yarn. There's this grandma, Granny Goodtimes, who gets a hold of a time machine. She thinks, I'll just nip back and buy that nice china set I passed up in '76. Seems harmless, right? Well, turns out that china set was supposed to shatter during an epic family dinner, sparking a food fight that would go down in history. Fast forward, and because Granny intervened, that food fight never happened. The infamous mashed potato battle was pivotal. It brought the family together, teaching them to laugh through the messes of life. Without it, cousins are feuding, uncles are grumpy, and holiday dinners are more silent than a mime convention. Granny thought she was fixing her one regret, but what she really did was rob her family of a cherished, chaotic memory. That's the moral tightrope walk of messing with time, friends.
A butterfly effect with gravy stains, courtesy of Granny's meddling.
But here's a thought, Joe, playing devil's advocate for a sec. What if Granny's tweak was actually the best thing since sliced bread? Flip the script. By not having that china, maybe it led to more meaningful family bonding, like board game nights or camping trips that don't involve dodging flying stuffing. Sure, we adore our what-if narratives in time travel lore, but who says every change spells doom? Maybe, just maybe, Granny's meddling could have been a butterfly effect for the better. We automatically view tampering with time as dangerous, but there's a chance it could work out for the best too. Can't ignore the good possibilities when facing the ethics quiz of time travel.
Good outcomes or not, it's still a reckless gamble, Simon.
Absolutely, Joe. Imagine everyone taking a gander at rearranging history on a whim, chasing their idea of a better outcome. Now that's a recipe for moral mayhem. You can't just go around nudging the past to see what sticks. There are serious consequences involved. Think of it this way. For every granny good times potentially improving family ties without that China catastrophe, there's probably a whole parade of folks making it rain unintended paradoxes, rewriting entire cultures willy-nilly. Morally, you're playing with fire. Actually, it's like playing with fire while soaked in gasoline, blindfolded, during a lightning storm. Every trip back in time could be that strike that sets everything ablaze. Yikes!
Totally, the past is delicate. It's best left alone. Speaking of delicate, let's transition to a lighter, yet no less quirky topic: bizarre dining rituals from around the globe. Ever heard of any strange ones that caught your interest, Simon?
Oh, Joe, have I ever? There's this one. You'll love it. Talk about a dining curveball. In certain parts of France, there's a tradition called le coup de l'invité, or the guest's blow. To show appreciation, if you loved the meal, you're supposed to take the last remaining slice of bread and use it to gently tap the host on their shoulder. It's wacky yet oddly personal, right? Now imagine trying this out at your in-laws' fancy dinner without any prime context. 1 minute, everyone's savoring duck à l'orange. The next, you've got a brawl breaking out because Auntie Gertrude thought she was being swung at with a baguette. What times those must be.
The Amber Room's vanishing act is like the ultimate escape artist trick, isn't it? Crafted in the 18th century and adorned with gold and precious stones, this chamber was a literal world wonder in Russia. Then, World War II hits and poof, it disappears amidst the chaos. Theories run wild, hidden by Nazis, destroyed by bombs, or locked away in some secret bunker. Even now, treasure hunters and history buffs get that Indiana Jones glint in their eyes thinking about it. Finding the Amber Room would be like hitting the historical jackpot, but its disappearance is also a reminder of all we've lost in conflict. Priceless art and heritage that tells our shared human story.
No doubt, Joe, the art of breaking bread with wacky traditions could fill a book. But now, let's dive into a real historical head-scratcher, the vanishing act of the Amber Room. Picture this, an entire room dripping with gold and jewels, every inch the epitome of opulence in 18th century Russia. It's like someone turned extra into a living space. Kumbuwi too, it pulls a Houdini on us. Gone. Was it a Nazi heist, or just lost to the ravages of war? Nobody knows. Theories are as plentiful as conspiracy theories about Elvis running a secret beach bar in Bermuda. Its disappearance, man, that's the real cliffhanger, isn't it? It's like history left us on read with no reply ever coming. And yet, everyone's just dying to blue-tick that mystery solved.
The Amber Room, sometimes dubbed the eighth wonder of the world, was a marvel of Baroque artistry made from several tons of amber. Constructed in Prussia originally, it eventually made its way to Catherine Palace in Tsarskoye Selo, near St. Petersburg. Then World War II came along, and the room was pillaged by the Nazis. Despite extensive searches post-war, its whereabouts remain one of the great unsolved mysteries. Could be sitting in a sunken submarine for all we know. Would definitely shake things up if it turned up on an episode of Antiques Roadshow, huh?
Right, picture this, Joe. Some unsuspecting guy lugs an old, dusty jewelry box to Antiques Roadshow. He's hoping for a quick buck, maybe enough to get a new lawnmower. Then bam, the expert's monocle pops out as he whispers, "Sir, did you realize you've been keeping cufflinks in the lost Amber Room's gem-studded drawer?" Next thing you know, that guy's cutting his lawn with scissors because his yard is now a UNESCO site.
Hey latecomers, you've just jumped into a chat about the ultimate vanishing act, Russia's Amber Room. Picture a room decked out in gold and gems that mysteriously disappeared during World War II, sparking rumors about Nazi treasure hunts and lost art. Tune in as we indulge in this historical enigma, joining treasure hunters in their quest for answers. It's our own little time capsule of intrigue, minus the dust-covered jewelry boxes.
Welcome to the mystery tour, Buckle up for a wild ride.
Time to crack history's best-kept secrets. What's next, Simon?
Definitely, Joe. So, sticking to our current Indiana Jones vibe with the Amber Room mystery, think about the intense endeavors by treasure hunters and historians alike, each of them flipping through the pages of history books like a detective novel, deciphering codes and chasing down legends. Everyone's hoping to be the one, you know? The hero that rolls in with the lost pieces of opulent history on a silver platter, restoring what's been deemed irretrievable. It's not just about unearthing an embellished room, it's about reclaiming a cultural masterpiece. It's as rich in history as it was in gemstones. And I mean, who wouldn't want to solve a real-world puzzle that combines Nazis, art, and secret bunkers? It's historical gold. But for now, while that golden room is playing cosmic hide-and-seek with us, let's hop on over to another topic. How about we chat about something everyone has an opinion on these days, the world of viral internet challenges. What's the craziest one you've seen lately, Joe?
Ice baths in winter. Why turn yourself into a popsicle?
Joe, just imagine ice baths being the next clue to finding the Amber Room. You jump in, and suddenly you're not freezing. You're just ultra alert, like a human metal detector tuned into history's frequency. But let's get real. Who willingly turns into a human popsicle unless you're looking for lost treasure or trying to impress your frost-resistant crush? Diving back into our own frosty enigma, though, isn't it fascinating that nobody has found a single gem-encrusted panel from the Amber Room just lying around? It's almost as if the world hit the delete button on a whole extravagant room. I bet it's hiding in plain sight, like maybe it's been turned into the fanciest IKEA showroom ever, and we're all just oblivious. Now, there's a twist for our listeners.
Let's pivot back to the Amber Room for a sec. It does sound like something straight out of a movie scene, don't you think, Simon? I mean, who wouldn't be gripped by a tale about a grand room laden with amber and gold that just vanishes into thin air? Spielberg or Scorsese could have a field day recreating the mystery. But really, it goes to show, reality can be as fantastical as anything we see on the big screen. Sometimes truth is stranger than fiction, and without any CGI needed.
Absolutely, Joe. Reality had a head start on Hollywood with the Amber Room. It's like the ultimate classic movie scene, but without any retakes. You've got the drama, the suspense, and that epic lost-to-time vibe that filmmakers spend millions trying to recreate. Switching reels from reality to the silver screen, how about those curious special effects in classic movies, huh? Talk about making magic with less tech than what's in a kid's toy these days. The tinfoil flying saucers in old sci-fi flicks? Chef's kiss for creativity. Who needs CGI when you've got fishing lines and imagination? What's your favorite old-school movie effect, Joe?
Old-school effects had that DIY magic. Take 1956's Forbidden Planet, where animators used simple but innovative techniques. They hand-painted the monster directly onto each frame, a painstaking process. Or 1933's King Kong, a marvel with its stop-motion animation, creating an eerily lifelike giant ape long before computers hit the scene. This tactile approach gave these flicks soul and a realness that sometimes lacks in today's pixel-perfect era. It's not just about visuals, it's about tangible craftsmanship, artists leaving a literal fingerprint on their work.
Absolutely, and the fingerprints of those artists are what gave those movies their timeless charm. So Joe, if you could pick any movie monster to be revamped with today's tech while keeping that old-school handcrafted feel, which one would you choose?
Oh, that's a tough choice. What about the creatures from The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad? They had this raw, adventurous feel to them, bringing them back with a light touch of modern magic, but not losing that Harryhausen stop-motion essence. Could be epic. Your thoughts, Simon?
Joe, The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, creatures getting a modern-day facelift? I don't know, man. There's something about the jerky movements, the charming imperfections in those films that's just, it's enchanting, you know? Slap on some high-def polish, and maybe they lose their mojo. It's like taking the crackle out of vinyl records. Sure, it's cleaner, but does it really sound better? Turning our lens back onto those classics, think about the charm being more in how they did the effect than the effect itself. The invisible strings, the clay figures, They were making you believe with smoke, mirrors, and elbow grease. Sometimes the newer slick graphics leave me cold, kind of like an overdone digital ice bath. What do you reckon, Joe? Is there a point where better technology might actually take away from the magic?
Folks, every silver lining's got a cloud. Our chat's done for today. Huge thanks for lending us your ears. The good news? We're back at it tomorrow, 5 p.m. EST sharp. So pull up a chair, we'll keep the conversation live and crackling with fresh takes. Until then, keep those play buttons warm for us. Joe and Simon, signing off. Stay curious, stay awesome.